On June 23, 2023, the Boston Celtics engaged in a three-team trade. They gave away their longest tenured Celtic, Marcus Smart, in exchange for Kristaps Porzingis and multiple first-round picks. Almost immediately, it was considered a huge steal for the Celtics. They got the superior player back in return plus additional picks. Porzingis just had a phenomenal year in DC, but since the Wizards wanted to blow it up and rebuild from scratch, keeping him would mean they'd win too many games and not be bad enough for a higher pick. As a result, the Celtics took advantage of this opportunity, and oh man, it's paid off big time. Porzingis is the final piece to their team. Previously, they've had some good bigs, but they were undersized and none were close to having the all-around talent of Porzingis. How's it going, folks? My name's Andy, and today let's dissect why Kristaps Porzingis is having by far and away the best season he's ever had. There's a couple things to keep in mind. In his previous year with the Wizards, not a lot of people watched them, but he had such a stellar season. Up until this year with the Celtics, that was his best year ever. Porzingis displayed a massive improvement in every single category he used to get criticized for. He started playing closer to the basket. He's bulked up a lot over the years, now having the strength to dominate smaller guys. When he was younger, he struggled to do that. Whenever a smaller guy was physical with him, he didn't know what to do, he didn't know how to handle it. It led to frustration and impatience. Watching him in New York for many years, his inability to take advantage of a mismatch caused him to take way too many bad shots. In his final season in New York, a whopping 43% of his shots came from the mid-range, and he wasn't even good at hitting them. Porzingis resorted to shooting over someone when he didn't have the strength to get into position to overpower them. Then there was that stint in Dallas, where he played next to a legit superstar for the first time. Unfortunately, it didn't work out, not just for one reason, for multiple reasons. The Mavericks wanted him to be more of a stretch four, a supporting player, while Porzingis wanted to do more. The thing is, at this time, he still wanted to play like he was that guy, so he demanded more touches, more isolations than necessary, which he wasn't good at. It wasn't strictly his fault or the team's fault. I don't think they used him properly, but at the same time, he wasn't mature enough to handle his new role either. He was still in his growing phase. On the Celtics, this is, without question, the best team he's ever played on. Not only are they utilizing him to his maximum potential, but most importantly, Porzingis is all in on winning. In terms of playstyle, he's now taking more shots at the basket than he's ever had before. 32% of his shots come within 3 feet of the rim, compared to his career average of just 19%. On a team with so much space, probably the best spacing in the entire league, he's also hitting those shots at a career-high 78%. His mid-range attempts have slowly decreased over the years. Like I mentioned earlier, in his final season in New York, 43% of his attempts were mid-range shots. By the time he got to the Wizards, that dropped to 25%. Now, on the Celtics, just barely over 10% of his shots come from mid-range. It's not a coincidence that once he cut down on these attempts, his scoring efficiency skyrocketed. Out of all players who shoot at least 10 shots a game, Porzingis is first in true shooting percentage at the time of this video. Porzingis also has a ludicrous offensive rating, the highest among all Celtics starters. One might take a glance at his success in Boston and simply say, well, he's finally on a team that uses him properly. But it's more than that. Porzingis himself has done a lot of growing, a lot of maturing over the years to get to this point. When asked about his new role in Boston, this is what he had to say. "I'm much more effective now than when I was shooting 18 shots per game, so I'm comfortable in this role also. And there's going to be different games and different situations, and I'm going to be ready to step up or be there to support these guys. That's why I'm here." He definitely would not have said this back in Dallas. Now, his willingness to buy into the team's game plan has led to remarkable results. Over the years, as Porzingis moved from team to team, the critics always questioned what kind of team does Porzingis really fit on the best? Which team can possibly make the best use of his skills? The general idea is he'd be best on a team with great spacing, preferably great three-point shooters, so he can have more space himself to work with. On a team like this, he's no longer the focal point of opposing defenses. Also, with the Celtics being top 2 in three-point attempts per game in the past 2 seasons, this is what he needs to thrive. Porzingis even admitted he's better off being the number 3 or number 4 option. So on the Celtics, with their established scorers, the attention won't be solely on him. But it's not just him benefiting from his teammates, but the other way around too. Over the last couple years, the Celtics' biggest hole has been at center. They've had big men who could do specific tasks, but none of them were a threat to score by themselves, and their scoring arsenal was quite limited. With Porzingis, however, when he has the ball on top of the key, you can't just drop and sag off him. He's comfortable shooting the ball when he's open, and when he does roll to the rim, there's not much the defense can do, because this team is surrounded by threats. As a result, he's gotten so many great looks, so many more open shots than he's used to getting. When the Celtics acquired Porzingis, I don't think defense was ever the concern. The Celtics have always been a great defensive team, and he's always been known as a great defender, and the numbers prove it. In Boston, he holds opponents to just 50.7% shooting within 6 feet of the basket, while contesting over 7 shots a game in that area. That's pretty crazy, considering the average player shoots nearly 60% at that range. His length is really bothersome for anyone trying to drive in. For comparison, last year, Robert Williams held opponents to 55% in that area, and Al Horford held opponents to 58.6%. This was actually the weakest area of the Celtics' defense previously, defending shots close to the rim. It was largely due to their lack of size and preference for smaller lineups. Porzingis came in and fixed all those issues in the blink of an eye. I think there's a stigma against long, lanky big men. People think guys like Porzingis is only capable of defending the paint, but when he gets put into a pick and roll against a guard, he'll get cooked. This is the case with most centers, but not Porzingis. With the Wizards, he ranked 4th in the entire NBA in pick and roll defense, allowing just 0.93 points per possession. He's exceptional in this category, which is probably the most crucial asset you want your bigs to have nowadays.
Again, Porzingis defending on the perimeter. Again, an air ball. I mean, that might be 3 blocks that he's not going to get credit for.
Porzingis also happens to be a great zone defender. The Wizards played a decent amount of zone when he was there, and he was very effective. Although the Celtics don't play zone that much, it could be a tool they could whip out in the playoffs, like a surprise. The reason they haven't played much zone before is because they have so many great one-on-one defenders, so it wasn't necessary. However, everyone on this team has so much length and athleticism. I feel like if they tried to implement more zone, they could be great at it. We saw the damage the Heat did in the playoffs with their zone defense. It caught teams off guard, and they clamped down so many opponents. The Celtics have remained a dominant defensive team, but now they're more well-rounded and can cover every area of the floor more effectively. Plus, it also helps when your starting center is also a major threat on offense. You can't just throw him into a corner and give the other team a break. Porzingis is way too talented to ignore. In the past 3 seasons, the Celtics have been a top 3 defensive team. Their defense is the foundation of their identity, and now it's so much more suffocating. The arrival of Kristaps Porzingis to Boston has been a godsend for him and the organization. Recently, the Celtics were so close to winning the title. 2 losses in the conference finals and 1 loss in the finals over the last 4 years. They were knocking on the door. It seemed like they've been waiting for that final piece, the last key player to bring them over the hump and win that championship. Is Porzingis the final piece? I think so. On paper and on the court, they have such a stacked roster, such a well-rounded deep roster with few weaknesses from top to bottom. This is the year they could do it. Anyway, that's all folks. What are your thoughts on this current Celtics team? Do you agree with me that this is the best chance they'll ever have at winning the title? Let me know your thoughts in the comments. Thank you all so much for watching, and as always, I'll see you next time. Peace.